Hi guys, and welcome to this video today. I hope you're all doing well. So for today's case, guys, we are going to be talking about a little boy called Adam. This case is quite a shocking case, I'll be honest with you. Like, out of all the cases I've covered, this is one which I personally find very shocking and very chilling myself. And when I was reading the events of this case, I was quite shaken up. So I'm just going to put out a disclaimer that we're going to be talking about mutilation of a small child. And obviously, if this is something that is too much for you, too graphic, obviously you're more than welcome to skip this video. This case is spread across 3 different countries. So in this case, we are going to be be in the UK, also Germany, and as well Nigeria. So 3 different countries. So I'll try to be as precise as I can with the different information that I provide you with. On the 21st of September 2001, a body or torso specifically was discovered in the River Thames in London, and it was a child's torso. And apparently this torso had been floating in the Thames for between 7 and 10 days approximately. That's what investigators kind of estimated the time frame to be. They pulled the torso out of the River Thames, and I say torso because the body had been mutilated, so the head had been removed from the body and the arms and legs had also been removed from the body, so it was just a torso and like the lower part of the body, so the bum area essentially, which had an orange pair of shorts on it. At this stage, guys, from the get-go, the child has been found in London in the River Thames. The shorts found on the child are actually from a shop in Germany, and the child was identified as being of Nigerian descent. So you can already see there's a lot of crossover here in regards to the different locations that potentially the child has been in. And this is where a whole investigation started, because obviously this is something very shocking, very unusual, and an immediate investigation started in regards to where has this torso come from, who does it belong to, etc, etc. So the only lead the investigators had initially was that it's clearly a child's body. It looked like it's a male child, and it had these orange shorts on it. And some people would think that's not much information to work with initially. It's very, very little information, because remember, the head had been removed as well. So to identify the body, as you can imagine, is extremely difficult. But it had these orange shorts on it. And one thing about the orange shorts is it said that they were girls' shorts. They weren't boys' shorts, but the body was of a little boy, but the shorts were girls' shorts, and they were of an orange colour specifically. And inside of the shorts, the brand of the shorts was a German brand. And these were the leads that the investigators had. That's all they had to work off, which is very, very minimal in all honesty. Like, some people would think, okay, it's such a serious case, you need to get cracking with this, you need to get going. But that is essentially all they had to work off, which is really, really minimal to work with. However, what happened is in July of 2002, so a while later, there was a lady in Scotland, in Glasgow, that was visited by social services who happened to be of Nigerian descent, and her name was Joyce. Joyce had 2 little girls, and so social services came to visit her because of some kind of mistreatment of the 2 little girls. And when they entered the property, they discovered different objects and items which are generally used for what is referred to as muti. And muti, which is known across different African countries, is used for ritual magic and used on children, and where you remove body parts from children to use them for ritual magic essentially. The second thing that social workers saw, apart from all these objects used for ritual magic, they also found orange shorts which were exactly the same as the ones that had been found on Adam. Now, when I say Adam, guys, this is the name. It's like saying John Doe or Jane Doe. This is the term that officers attributed to the torso that they'd found because they wanted to call it something. So they referred to it as Adam, but Adam was not the little boy's real name, just to clarify that if that's a bit confusing. So anyway, these shorts that were found in this woman Joyce's house that had the two little girls were the exact same shorts that had been found on Adam in the River Thames. And what happened is, because the case was so big, the social workers contacted police also with this information, thinking that there's some kind of overlap, because what are the chances of finding these exact same shorts in a similar sizing from Germany in the UK from the same shop? Like, this is not just a coincidence, it's something weird, right? And then there's all these ritual objects. The woman's also from Nigeria. It's too much overlap and crossover. So the social workers reported this to police. Police got on this and they went to visit Joyce in Scotland and they went to interrogate her. Now, Joyce was like holding off, like she was literally like not going to give information. And I forgot to mention, prior to that, before it got to Joyce in July 2002, in April 2002, the police had flown out to South Africa actually and went to see Nelson Mandela for him to put out a request across the whole of the African continent to try and find any link to Adam that they could find. If they could find relatives, his original parents or anything, that they would get in contact with Scotland Yard in the UK. So that was in motion anyway, but nothing, like no link was coming back to the police here in London. And so anyway, this is where Joyce like appeared on the scene randomly through social services. So the police now interrogate Joyce in July of 2002 and start asking her about these orange shorts. Does she know about this little boy Adam? You know, anything like this? And she's kind of like not giving up any info. She's like, no, I don't know anything about this child and that. And the coincidence with these shorts as well is just so strong that you just know that this woman is lying. Like, it's just so obvious. So the police, they got hold of Joyce's phone, right? And they went through her phone. And you know, when you go through someone's phone, guys, you'll often find all different types of contacts. You'll have maybe some work colleagues' numbers in there, your friends, your family. You'll have a certain amount of people in there, right? In Joyce's phone, there was only 2 people. There was only 2 contacts in her phone. And it was a bit like, this is a woman with 2 small kids as well, in her 30s or 40s. How have you only got 2 contacts in your phone? One of which was a male called Musa, and there was just one other contact. That's it, which is so random, right? So this contact, Musa, apparently had some kind of contact with Joyce, and Joyce, when she was then further probed, when she realised the police had got hold of her phone and everything, started to give up some information. I think Joyce was a bit like, shit, like she needs to give up info because she realised like her game is a bit up, do you know what I mean? Like, she's incriminating herself too much. So she basically starts telling them that actually this Musa, that's not his real name. His real name is Kingsley Ojo. And they're like, who is Kingsley Ojo? And she's like, oh, previously I was living in Germany. So it comes out now. So Joyce had been, obviously she was born in Nigeria, grew up there. She'd emigrated to Germany in like 2001, and then come to the UK around 2001-2002. This was the situation, right? So Joyce is like, when I was living in Germany, this man, this Kingsley Ojo, had come to visit her, and apparently this child Adam was in Joyce's care at the time. Her whole story was that Adam's parents were immigrants that had gone to Germany illegally or something, been deported, and left the child in the care of Joyce. Kingsley Ojo was dropped by Joyce's flat in Germany and taken Adam with him. And obviously you can see how all these dots are now connecting with the shorts, which were the exact same shorts that Adam had on. So the investigators started to do further digging because they couldn't get a lot of information out of Kingsley Ojo. Joyce wasn't giving up more info than that this is what had happened and this Kingsley Ojo had taken Adam, and that's it. So they started to do further digging, and the investigators found out that in African culture and where there's ritual mutilation that takes place with children, that red is a symbol of like the child's relative doing this or something. Like red is linked back to, symbolises that it links back to the family. So it said that the short symbolised that Adam's family were involved or linked to this ritual mutilation, something like that. That's what the colour of the short symbolised, right? Anyway, Kingsley Ojo was arrested around 2003 by police in East London. And him as well, he wasn't giving up much info, but the police raided his flat. They did find objects which related to ritual mutilation as well. No surprise there. And they also discovered that he was doing benefit fraud and that he was facilitating the entry of illegal Nigerian migrants into London, UK. Really, what police wanted to push charges for was obviously his link back to Adam, and that there's something very serious that's obviously gone on there. They knew, you know, Kingsley Ojo's doing benefit fraud, and just so you guys know, for those that don't know what benefit fraud is in the UK, it's like welfare, so where you're getting money from the government to live if you're not working, for example, yeah. So the police weren't too bothered about that, because obviously that's a crime, but you know, there's much more serious crimes, and in this case obviously a little boy has lost his life, so they wanted to obviously get onto Kingsley Ojo and, you know, send him down for this crime, because they knew that there's some strong link there. So what they did, they couldn't really, like, you can't, you know, keep someone incarcerated, guys, in the UK for benefit fraud. It's not such an extreme crime that you can keep someone in prison. So they had to bail him after like 24 hours. But what they decided to do is put Kingsley Ojo under a permanent surveillance. Now, apparently Kingsley Ojo used to attend church, and he was affiliated to another woman who used to attend church, even though all these people are doing loads of criminal acts. Anyway, and they had a female police officer infiltrate the church undercover so that she could keep an eye, apparently, on this other woman that Kingsley Ojo had brought up. It wasn't Joyce, it was some other woman, and that Kingsley Ojo was saying is linked also to this situation with Adam or something, etc, etc. They kept surveying Kingsley Ojo, like the comings and goings of the property and what's going on, and really all that was coming out of it all was, you know, he's falsifying documents for illegal immigrants into the UK, he's still doing a lot of the benefit fraud and all of this thing, but there wasn't so much coming out linking back to Adam, basically. In the meantime, while they had all this surveillance on Kingsley Ojo, they sent off biopsies to the botanists at Kew Gardens in London. For those that don't know Kew Gardens, it's like a really massive botanical garden in London that you can actually visit. It's really pretty. I've been there once as a child, actually. And the botanists that work there are really, like, knowledgeable about different species of plants. So it was discovered when a biopsy was done on Adam's stomach to see what he'd ingested and things like this. Has he been given something, you know, before he's lost his life? It was discovered that there were two things in his body by these botanists. One of them was the calabar bean, and the calabar bean is known to cause paralysis and used specifically in ritual mutilation in Nigeria. And the second thing that was discovered was the datura plant, and the datura plant causes hallucinations in someone, very strong hallucinations, again also used in ritual mutilation. So essentially this child was put into paralysis and hallucination, so he couldn't move at all when someone was doing whatever they were doing to him. However, the botanist said that even though the plants cause paralysis and hallucinations, you can actually still physically feel pain. So it doesn't mean you can't feel pain because you're paralysed or hallucinating. So essentially it means that Adam gravely suffered, even though he was under the influence of these very strong, different herbal plants. In the end, Kingsley Ojo got sent down for all his benefit fraud, his falsification of documents and everything else. But they couldn't really charge him for his link back to Adam. But it was kind of like, you know, when you hear this case, guys, you just know that that man has done something. You don't know exactly what he's done, but you know he's done something, right? So the police, like, sent him down irregardless because he was committing a lot of crimes. And so he got sent down, I think for like 8-9 years, something like that. And actually, interestingly, his inmates, they fed information back to the police officers in the prison that Kingsley was in, saying that Kingsley is offering ritual magic ceremonies and requesting money for them and things like this. So Kingsley was still continuing this ritual magic, ceremony thing in prison, which is just so blatant that obviously this is what this man had done to this child. Joyce ended up getting deported. I think she didn't have legal citizenship in the UK or something. She ended up getting deported, and actually the officers that worked on this case were the ones that got on the plane to escort her back to Lagos in Nigeria. And it said that the officers didn't even get off the plane when it landed. They stayed on the plane and flew straight back to the UK. So they just felt like there's no point to even get off the plane to try and further interrogate Joyce. Like, they tried to interrogate her on the flight, which is obviously a very long flight from UK to Lagos. It's a really long flight. And they were just getting no further info out of Joyce by this time. This was around like maybe 2008, 2009. And Kingsley Ojo went down in like 2005, 2006. So they were pulling no further information from Joyce anyway. She was getting deported, was sent back to Nigeria, and they had no further info, essentially. The case kind of has come to a standstill. And over the whole time frame I've told you the story of this case, guys, it started in September 2001, and it kind of actually trolled off even into like 2020, 2021. But the last serious updates on the case, I want to say, were like 2012, 2013. So it's where it's gone on for years and years. The same officers were on the case for a long time. One of them was Nick Chambers, and he was on that case for like over 10 years, and then it got taken over by other officers who were really informed as well. So this case has had the same officers on it for years and years and years, who knew the background of the case well. They pushed hard as they could, and they just couldn't pull out enough information to get a conviction of the relevant person. They couldn't link the child's back DNA wise to an exact family or person. They even at one point managed to get in contact with Joyce's brother, and that didn't really give any additional information to the case, in all honesty. Over the last 10-15 years or more, guys, I've come across so many criminal cases of ritual mutilation of children online, in documentaries, which is very prevalent in Nigeria specifically. And there are other countries, other African countries, that do this as well. I heard of this a lot in South Africa. I've even come across people out there that have told me of this as well. And it's still prevalent. It's not like this is something that used to happen and doesn't happen anymore. This is something that is still actively happening as I am doing this video for you, essentially. It's still, something very serious which goes on. And people are so uneducated that they literally believe that by doing this to a child, it's going to help them in some way or another. Sometimes, guys, I cover cases on my channel which are a bit more light-hearted, a bit more ridiculous and things like that. This case, the way I've researched it and read it, there are sometimes cases that I read them, guys, and I think, I can't almost vibe with this case. I don't take to it. I don't feel like I can tell the story to you guys. I just can't vibe with the case. This is one of those stories that when I read it, and I've read lots of different articles about it, it hit me to the core. I just thought, oh my god, firstly, how can someone do this to a child? I've seen different cases, as I said, of child mutilation, but this is one where I thought, what the actual hell has gone on here? It's absolutely vile and disgusting that someone could even think this up in their brain to do this to a little child. Apparently when he passed, I forgot to mention, he was between 4 and 7 years old. This is what police officers predetermined. And it's something that needs to be spoken about more, because it's still so prevalent. It's just disgusting. And people think, oh, it only happens in certain countries. But actually in London, UK specifically, in the last 6-7 years, there's actually been more and more cases coming to the surface where people in London properties, London flats, doing this to children and getting away with it, and it's just absolutely vile. I will leave this case where it is because I feel quite angry and frustrated with these people that have gotten away with what they've done. Like, this is one case that has really pissed me off, I'll be honest with you, for obviously, you know, specific reasons. If you guys have got suggestions for other cases down below, international cases, of course, please don't hesitate, as always, to leave your comments and suggestions down below, and I will see you soon for another video.